Hello everyone, this is Jotto, bringing you the HearthStone Weekly, bringing you the top decks, bringing you the top cards, and the state of the metagame for this week's tournament. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So, the top 8 decks of this week's tournament, we had first place, Spaj, Shaman Midrange, second place, Digital Djinn with Rogue Spell-based aggro, similar to last time, third, Zveno, Rogue Control, fourth, Easy Mode, round of applause for Easy Mode, getting Priest into top 4. Very impressed. Fifth, Rated, someone I haven't seen before. He was playing a Warrior mid-range deck. Kara, Shaman mid-range aggro. And Shanakran. That game is that's really fun to say. Whatever. Shanakran, Paladin mid-range. And 8th, rounding out the top 8, Nick Demon with Warlock synergies. So, Spaj's deck. Shaman midrange, pretty similar to his previous decks, but this was designed for limited, the limited format being non-epic and non-legendary. So, we have things like Sentient Shieldmaster in almost every deck, pretty insane. Wind Speaker to give your bigger stuff Wind Fury, Ancestral Spirit, comboing with Argent Commander, because Argent Commander has Divine Shield and Charge. So every time you attack with it, it can lose Divine Shield, and if it dies with Ancestral Spirit, it comes back with the Divine Shield and can charge again. Very good synergy with that. Fire Elemental was also brought back with that because it's a big body and it could do crazy things. Feral Spirits for board control, Rock Bitter Weapon to use on totems or your hero, Violet Teacher slowly gives you incremental advantages. It was a very well-rounded deck. So, if we look at second place, Digital Djinn's Rogue Spell-based aggro, very similar to the deck he played last time. In fact, this deck hasn't changed much. There wasn't very many legendaries or epics in the last one at all. So, as I said before, you got things like Ringleader, early game, Gnomish Inventor, and Novice Engineer to cycle cards, Nightblade to finish out the game, Headcracks, consistent damage, Betrayal, Eviscerate, standard removal. Very fast-paced deck. If he doesn't win by about turn 7, he can't win most of the time. But that's what Headcrack is for, and it pulled through with the vast majority of games getting second. Good job. So, third place, Zveno, playing Rogue Control. Now, this was a lot more focused on the late game, very few minions. Things like Gadgekstan Auctioneer, which draws you cards every time you play something. Things like Headcrack with combo, draw you a card and then go back to your hand, so it's just drawing an extra card every single turn. Twilight Drake to take control of all of his draw power and come down with 10 10s or 9 9s every single time. Stranglethorn Tiger, consistent board control, Assassinate for removal, Shiv, Headcrack. Normal removal and damage with things like Revenholt Assassin and Stranglethorn Tiger to close out the game. So, easy mode, playing Priest mid-range control. Bit more of a sort of mid-game control thing with some minions. It's good to see the little hybridizations between archetypes as opposed to just, this is mid-range, this is control, this is aggro. No, we saw a lot of hybrids, because things like Argent Commander, too powerful. Arcanite Soul Priest, with greater heal for the really big burst damage. Also, Arcanite Soul Priest changes our hero power into basically Shadow form. Pyromancer for board control, the Acidic Swamp Ooze to get rid of the various weapons that can be around. Shadow Word Pain, basic removal, Earthen Ring Farseer, heal yourself, or if you have an Arcanite Soul Priest, damage the enemy. Youthful and Ancient Brewmaster, mainly to bounce Argent Commander or Arcanite Soul Priest when you need the healing or when you need to just attack for 4 and reset the commander every single time. Holy Smite, removal, small basis. Fen Creeper, it's just a bigger Sentient Shieldmaster. If he could play 3 Sentients, he would, but only 2. So, that was the Priest deck. We haven't seen Priest deck in top 8 since Dorox. 5th place, Rated with a Warrior earlier mid-range deck. So, sort of 4, 5 drops, not 6, 7 drops. So, we saw things like Arcanite Reaper and Corcoran Elite to do that burst damage every single turn. Dark Iron Dwarf to buff your own stuff. Sentient Shieldmaster as a roadblock. Wrathy Weaponsmith give you extra value. Shield Block, good for cycling, heals you 5 essentially. Upgrade as a good win condition. It's odd, but win condition Arcanite Reaper with upgrades, the damage racks up really fast. Spellbreaker to get over things. Pint-sized Summoner to get out your Corcoran Elites on turn 3, or to get some free minions early, things like that. One Sunwalker and one Chillwind Yeti for later. It was a very well rounded out deck. It came 5th. So 6th, Kara Shaman mid-range aggro. Well, mid-game aggro, not mid-range. This was later in the game aggro than normal. However, the general theme was the same. You get down the knife jugglers and the bloodlusts, and there was a bit of a token core to this. Kara, along with me, were one of the first people to use tokens, so yeah, we're a bit reluctant to go away from our archetype even though Pyromancer's around. But Knife Juggler and Imp Master giving you early game pressure with the Knife Juggler triggers. Then you have Bloodlust to close out the game later, Flame Tongue Totem to buff your totems and imps. Then you have things like Feral Spirits for board control, Fire Elemental later game, just beat them into the ground. Senjin is a roadblock, seems to be in everything. Stranglethorn Tiger, just a very, very high stat 5-drop, really, is the reason it's in here. So 7th place, we had Shanakaran, Paladin mid-range. Haven't seen a Paladin deck that was mid-range. We always see one. Rio was in the last tournament, came 2nd with a sort of Paladin control deck. This is more sort of earlier game. We have Blessing of Kings, Violet Teacher, Guardian of Kings. That's your sort of mid to late game plan. Things like Violet Teacher, you could buff it with Blessing of Kings, attack for 7, and you have a 1-1 with it. It was quite nice. Thromar Farseer, good target for buffs. It says Wind Fury. Youthful Brewmaster to reset silences. Sunwalker, big roadblock. Senjin, big roadblock. Hope you're noticing a trend here. Iron Cal gets rid of all the taunts that are really popular in this kind of format. Leopardome for a bit of early game pressure, and the Pyromancer, deal with tokens. Just the one. You don't need it to deal with much apart from just with tokens. And rounding out the top 8, Nick Demon, 8th with Warlock Synergies. Now this involved buffing your own minions with aura buffs, so to speak. So things like Blood Imp and Stormwind Champion. In one game he got a Blood Imp and 2 Stormwind Champions down, which was huge because the next card he played was the Abomination, and suddenly that Abomination is not a 4-4, it's a 6-7 with Taunt and a Death Rattle. It was very, very powerful because unless you kill one, you can't kill any of them with AoE because they buff themselves out of AoE. So you had to single target removal everything, which is not something you want to do. Things like Voidwalker for early game, Stormwind Champion buffs everything, Siphon Soul, you need the removal, Hellfire because the buffs kind of take you out of the damage from your own stuff. So if you have 2 Blood Imps and 2 Stormwind Champions, for example, the Blood Imps don't even die from Hellfire. And Drain Life just helps with racing. It did actually win him a game at one point, so yeah, Nick Demon, the Warlock of this time. Top 5 neutral cards. Now, I'd like to say I predicted most of these in my last video. The Violet Teacher and the Sunwalker kind of caught me off guard. Sunwalker was one of the cards which was being played by a lot. Violet Teacher is the real one, which a lot of people didn't think would make it. But it did. It was in a lot of decks. But if we look at the record-breaking Senjin Shieldmaster, yes, that is 6 of top 8 decks. I just want to point out that the record previous to this was Illidan at 4. Okay, I was expecting 5 maximum, but 6 really did take the cake on this one. Best card in the game for a lot of people. Can't blame them. It's 4 mana, 3/5. That doesn't lose any stats, but it has taunt. Unlike Mogushan Warden, this thing is good on the offense as well as defense. And you can't attack into this thing because it will just trade with all the 3, 2, and 1 drops. It just kills all of them, and they can't trade into it without another 4 or 5 drop. It just stalls the game out, and it can still sort of just get you every single turn. Attacking for 3 every turn until it's eventually removed. That's why it's so good. It just comes down turn 4 and changes the flow of the game entirely. Argent Commander. My favorite 6-drop. Argent Commander is insane for 2 reasons. 1, Charge and Divine Shield is one of the best combinations in the whole game because you can charge into something, treat Argent Commander's removal, and you still get a 4/3. That's one reason why he's crazy. Another reason why he's crazy is you can reset him. Because Argent Commander, if he's reset by bouncing or by coming back to the field in some way, like with Redemption, he gets both Charge and Divine Shield back. Which means there was a game where Sparge played with his Argent Commander where he attacked with Argent Commander, suicided it with an Ancestral Spirit on it, came back, attacked again, and then he put Wind Fury on it and attacked a third time in one turn from the reset, and it still had its Divine Shield on. That is what is crazy. It's the combination between the two that really makes this card. So, Violet Teacher. Played in 3 decks, Arctic Commander being played in 4. So this is a little less popular, but it's still very good. It's a 3/5 for 4, so same stats as Senjin. Seems to be the perfect thing, 'cause it's out of Shadow Bolt range, it's out of AoE range, and it's just a good stat total. But the main point of this is spells are already being played, so why not just make them better by making them generate 1/1s? And the stats are good listing anyway, so you might as well. I mean, the 4-drops are insane in this format. Just 4 drops and 6 drops were very powerful in Limited, and this is one of the best 4 drops in Limited. So, Sunwalker, speaking of 6 drops, it's essentially the bigger Sentient Shield Master. Taunt, Divine Shield, 6 mana, 1 extra attack. Doesn't look like much, but then you realize the Divine Shield blocks a lot of stuff, and it can be reset. So if you bounce this, or if you revive it, just like the Argent Commander, it comes back with Divine Shield, which makes it very difficult to work through. The only way to really get around this is with Silence, and not everyone's playing the silences they need to deal with Sunwalkers, so it's played in 3 decks. Very good as a roadblock, the later game Sentient Shield Master. Rounding out the top 5 cards, Pyromancer. Now, while Pyromancer just saw play to sort of give you incremental advantages on spells like Violet Teacher, the problem with Pyromancer though over Violet Teacher is that Violet Teacher is pretty much almost guaranteed to give you incremental advantage unless you're at 7 minions. Pyromancer can hurt your own stuff sometimes, so he is played less because he can hurt your own things. He's played a lot in the bigger minion decks. If you have bigger minions than your opponent, Pyromancer is insane. If you have smaller minions than your opponent, don't play it because it hurts your own stuff. I don't play Pyromancer because I'm an aggro player. I'll pretty much always play aggro, so I can't play it because it hurts my own stuff, but I hate seeing it when I'm playing against mid-range decks or control decks because they flatten everything I have. And Pyromancer is going to be seen around. I don't think he'll be in every single deck just because his ability, while insanely powerful, is quite situational depending on deck. But he'll be around. He'll stick around for a couple of months is my opinion on that, until he gets slightly nerfed in some way. So, the state of the Limited metagame. Now, next tournament will be Standard again, which means every card is legal essentially. But for Limited, it's very mid-range dominated, just like Standard, because the mid-range cards are very powerful. In Standard, it's things like Hogger, Illidan, Geddon, Sylvanas, things like that, but in Limited, you have things like Argent Commander, Sunwalker, Fire Elementals, just powering through everything mid-game with Ascension Shield Masters, even Fen Creeper, just blocking everything. And you can't do much against mid-range, so it's very mid-range dominated. A lot of taunt is being used, as you could see by the absurd amount of Senjins in the top 5, and being Sunwalkers in there as well. A lot of charge in the Argent Commanders, and combos with that charge. And there was some other charge like the Kor'kron Elite as well. And it's very minion based. There weren't any solid spell based decks apart from kind of Digital Jin's deck being spell based aggro, but most of the metagame is minion based, and you can't really blame them. Minions are very stable, very good to use as they can keep attacking and they're not limited on how much damage they can do. But, so, thank you all for watching. This has been the HearthStone Weekly. I am Jotto. I brought you the top decks, the top cards, and state of the metagame for the last tournament. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. I do videos once a week. Every second week is the HearthStone Weekly. In between is something to do with the competitive side of Hearthstone. I will leave the TeamSpeak info in the description, and you can come, say hi to me, talk to some of the other guys associated with Mana Grind. We're a very welcoming community. Come say hi if you want to. Cockatrice is what we use as the simulator. If you want to play some Hearthstone before it goes into beta, come on Cockatrice. But as for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.